Hey guys, Denise from JVI Secret Gardens. Today we're going to talk about repotting of plants. It's actually pretty easy, but I do have a couple of important pointers to clarify with you before we do it. One of the first things is a lot of folks, when they try to up pot their plants, they try to go way too big. So you generally want to go only about 2 inches larger than the pot it's currently in. There are some exceptions to that, but that's the rule of thumb that you want to stick with. If you put it in that big old pot of soil, most people water for the soil, not the amount of plant that's in there. Ends up overwatered, you either stunt or kill your plant. So stick to about 2 inches larger than your current plant. Here we've got a little vinca. We're going to put it into this lovely little guy here. We have these available in the shop. And what we're going to do, this guy has drainage. You can see he's got a built-in tray down here. These guys also have it. There's other styles of pot. You want that good drainage. I know that a lot of really cute pots come without drainage. That might be a whole other conversation. So for this one, we're going to talk about pots with drainage. So this guy is drainable, ready to go, and all we're going to do is start off by putting some of our fresh soil in here. We've got potting soil. This is the Happy Frog potting soil, but we also have Ocean Forest and Proganics, I believe. So with this, we're going to fill up this pot with soil to about the point where, when we're done, the crown of this plant is going to sit at the top of the soil here. So we got to get enough soil in here to bring this plant up near to the top. So it looks about 2 inches on this one. We're just going to start by dropping our soil in until we get about to where we want it. I'm going to go a little above the 2-inch mark so that we can compress just a hair, because as this settles and as you water it, it will tend to sink down in the pot a little bit. So the next thing we're going to do is release the pot off the plant. So just start squeezing it. This type of pot is really great for this because it's such a thin pot. It's pretty easy to break away from the sides. Sometimes you're going to have to fight it a little. But if you squeeze it, you can usually get it to detach like so. Perfect. So you can see all of our little roots here all around this guy. They have started to go up the side, so he's ready for a new pot. Not with all plants, but for most. So what you want to do is kind of scruff up those roots a little. You don't want to rip them apart, but just kind of loosen them. I'm going to hold this over here to make less of a mess. Just kind of loosen them up. Free them up so that they're going to tend to grow outward rather than just continue along that block of soil. Now, one thing we recommend it for all plants going into the ground, but I also recommend it for repotting plants, is Biotone. We have it in 5 ounce and 4 pound, I believe. Might even have a larger one than that. And this is a root starter. It's got mycorrhizae, and it helps to jumpstart that root growth, so it'll get it established in and growing sooner. So with Biotone, what you want to do is make sure that that comes in contact with the roots of the plant. So don't bury it down underneath the soil. This does have a dosing guide, but it's pretty hard to overdo it. So a really good thick pinch, so you've got a nice little layer on top of your soil there. And sometimes people will even splash it on there, however you want to do it. So if I go in here, that puts us pretty close to the top. So I'm going to actually add a little bit more. And another pinch of this guy. There we go. I always like to leave the crown of the plant just slightly below the lip of the pot, because that way when you're watering it, the water can actually go into the pot. Sometimes folks tend to repot with the crown sitting above the rim. That means once you mound that soil up, there's nowhere for the water to go, and it tends to just run off the sides. You don't really know how much water you're getting in there. So this is going to get us a nice amount of lift in the pot while still giving us a gap for water. So now we're just going to take our extra soil, and we're going to run it around the edges here. And we want to make sure we're not piling it up on top of that crown. The crown is where the plant erupts from the soil. And that's a part of the plant that is very easy to rot for most plants. So you definitely don't want to bury it under soil that's going to stay moist. You want that exposed to the air. And now that I've got that around there and I've cleared it away from our crown, we're just going to pat it down a little bit. We're not going to mash it. Smushing the roots is never a good idea, but we're just gonna kind of press it a little bit. See that nice indentation we have here? Now we can water it. So for this plant, that's all that's needed. Now, for larger plants, let's discuss the giant pots. Sometimes we've got a big plant that's going to be going into an even bigger pot. A lot of folks don't want to pay for nice high quality potting soil to fill that whole pot because that plant's not necessarily going to need all that space, all that soil. So want to tend to fill it with something. Rocks is the biggest one I hear because usually you can get them for free. Rocks are only recommended if the pot has drainage. If it is a pot that does not have drainage, do not put rocks in the pot. That's just going to fill up that space and allow the water line to rise inside your pot. It's just going to rot your roots faster. So if you're doing a big pot, as long as it's got drainage holes in it, you can put some rocks in there. Or I've seen people use empty soda bottles. Just put the cap back on so it maintains a cushion. That fills a lot of space at the bottom of your pot. One thing I like to use are wine corks. I have a friend who's a wine lover and I'm a bartender, so that gives me access to tons of those. They're wonderful to put in the bottom of a pot. So if you're a big wine drinker, throw those in a jar. When you're ready to repot, just give them a good wash, pile them in. And then you'll put your soil on top of that. Just make sure when you do that first layer of soil on top of whatever you're filling the bottom with that you kind of press it down a little because you're not worried about compressing whatever your filler material is, but you want to make sure all that soil is sunk down into all those nooks and crannies, because if you just plant on top of it as you water, it's just going to sink down into that pot. If you do have a large pot that does not have drainage, well, any pot that does not have drainage, you can get away with it, but you're going to really have to learn the watering needs of your plant. So make sure you fully have a grasp on how frequently it needs water, how frequently it evaporates, how much it drinks, so you can stay on top of that. You may have to develop a new routine. But that's about all you need to know for the basics of repotting plants.